Here's some quick instructions for how to do the card sort over parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So you should have gotten a paper full of problems, and then you also got a recording sheet. So here's how this works. They give you a variety of information, okay? So like in this top one right here, they may give you linear equations that may or may not be in slope-intercept form. This version, you cannot tell anything about the slope from. And remember, the only way you can tell whether two lines are truly parallel or perpendicular is based off the slope. So in some situations, you may need to isolate the y. So in this situation, I might need to subtract x here, divide by -2 there, so that I end up with my formula. So here, if I subtracted 6, I would get -7x minus 6, right? Subtract 6 to move it over there. And then this one, if I divide everything by -2, I would end up with y equals -7x minus 6. So in this situation, if all you looked at was the slopes, they might look parallel, but in fact, they actually have the same y-intercept too. So notice you've got a parallel section, but you also have a section for them to be the exact same line. Okay, so you have to be careful about that. Don't just go for the quick answer. Sometimes they will just give you coordinates of the line. So like this situation gives you, hey, line A passes through these 2 points, line B passes through these 2 points. Again, slope is where we get parallel perpendicular from. So in this situation, you would actually have to use y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1, plug in, so actually substitute in your numbers for both situations and see how those slopes compare. Do they end up being the same line or two different lines, okay? Not the same line or two different, the same slope or that negative reciprocal slope, or what is the relationship between those two situations? Then the other situation that you will see on some of these problems is they may just give you a straight graph. My warning to you on the graph ones is please don't just look at it and assume that it's parallel or perpendicular based off how it looks. Actually count the rise and the run, because there are problems, please believe me, that look parallel or perpendicular, but when you actually count it out and see if they compare the way that parallel and perpendicular have to, they are not actually either one. So please don't just make an assumption. Really count those values and see, because again, here's our little notes. In order for two lines to be parallel, they have to have the same slope and different y-intercepts. In order to be perpendicular, they have to have negative reciprocal slopes, so opposite signs and flipped fractions. And the y-intercept doesn't matter at all in perpendicular lines. It can be the same or it can be different. So then you're going to record all of your answers on here. So every time you determine whether a situation is parallel, perpendicular, neither, or the same line, you're going to record it in the right section. And then I do have a request at the end. Can you please put your answers in order? Okay, if you're working through and let's say you work number 10 and then you say number 2 and then you get number 3 and then number 15, before you actually finish and turn this thing in, please put them in order and say, okay, 2, 3, then 10, then 15. It just makes checking it a lot faster and easier if you put them in order. So please do that at the very end. Okay, good luck. You've got to do at least 20 of these. So choose greater than or equal to 20 cards to sort. If you do extra, that's great, but you're only required to do 20.